What's up, YouTube? It's a Little Desert Farmer here. Give you guys a little tour of my mess of a garden right now. We've had lots of rain all through August, so it's been pretty messy around here, so I got a lot of cleanup to do. But here's a pumpkin patch. Really hoping to get some pumpkins for Halloween. I planted it on July 1st, so I'm hoping 100 days gets us in the beginning of October. And get some nice pumpkins for Halloween. You can see here all the grass that's grown in my garden. I tried using these garden bags this year. Did all right. Some of the plants did pretty good. You can see here the eggplants, all this grass growing up through there. You can see down here I got a couple eggplants growing there. I don't know if they'll come through on the video, but it looks like 3 of them there, maybe 4. Little ladybug. Over here I got some tomatoes, and that's just a mess. I need to put up some fencing or something and tie the tomatoes up and trim them up a lot. They're just a big bush. I think there's 3 or 4 plants here. I don't know if you can see down here, there's a couple little tomatoes going. But turn the sprinklers on every night and give them lots of water, and they've been doing pretty well. I'm quite surprised. Over here I got another eggplant. You can see a couple little eggplants growing there. Those are also in the bags. And then down in here I got some pepper plants. I think they're hot peppers, jalapenos, cayennes, maybe habanero. I'm not too sure what's growing. It's quite a mess in here. Been working a lot and it's been hot, so I haven't been keeping up with all the rain and the grass growing here. I put a bunch of leafy greens in this thing in the center here, and I have no clue what all this stuff is. This here's a cantaloupe. I had 1 cantaloupe off of there. Fed that to the pigs. They really like that. Nice little summer treat. And then this little flower bed is asparagus. Planted a bunch in there, trying to get a little bed of all asparagus. It's a pretty neat plant. You cut it and it regrows. You don't have to plant it every year. It takes it a few years to get up and go and mature. You can see my mess of the leafy greens. The rabbits have been jumping up in there. I keep catching them all the time. This flower bed, I planted a bunch of sunflowers, but they didn't sprout. Now the grass is overtaking it. And then over here we got grapevine. It did really well this year. We trimmed it all down and had a big bowl of grapes. And all these leaves that you see are the second round for this year. See my moringa tree. Nice little flowers. We might get another go of seed pods off of this guy. Moringa tree is very nutritious. You can eat the leaves. Very, very healthy. You can eat it like a salad. You can dry it out make it into like a powder. You can make a tea out of it. You can mix it in with smoothies and stuff. And yeah, there's a lot of health benefits to the moringa tree. Got another one over here, a little smaller. They're very drought tolerant plants, so they do well in the desert. They do like water. They don't like to dry out completely, but they handle the droughts. And then this whole bed here is artichokes. And end of spring, beginning of summer, we've got about 20 or so good artichokes off this plant. And then it kind of died off for the summer. It's too hot. You can see a couple new green leaves coming in there, so it's not dead. I don't know if you can see all these ants over here. They've got a ant nest in my planter box here. You can see more of these grass and weeds everywhere. I don't know if the green of my yard's coming in, but normally my yard's just dry dirt like the infield on a baseball field. But we've got so much rain that got lots of grass, and now I got another problem to take care of all this. If it dries up too much, then it becomes a fire hazard. One little spark and all this grass will go up once it dries out. So I've got a big drag that I made that I tow around the back of my truck. And again, just like on the baseball fields, I drag that around, and it does a pretty good job of flattening the land out and smoothing it out. And it also tears up a lot of this grass. It's kind of like a desert lawnmower. You can see that here with all these tires on it. You can see the back of the barn here. I only got the one section with the sheet metal on it, but we're going to have sheet metal on this section and that section. And it'll have a roof on it, just like this one here that we got for the pigs. Pigs just showed up one day. One of our neighbors had pigs and they got out and they showed up at our house. The wife chased them in the yard. And by the time we tracked down the owner, they said they didn't want them. So we ended up with pigs. So I had to hurry up and get their section of the barn done. That's why it's all that's finished right now. This middle section, I don't know if you can see here, is chicken wire. I'm going to put chicken wire over the top of everything. It's going to be fully enclosed. And then I'll build a chicken house on there. And that's the project for the fall. You can see there's my pile of sheet metal. That's all going on the barn here. Just waiting for the weather to be friendly. But back to the drag I got. What I do is I've got a piece of chain link fence. I don't know if you can see this here. Piece of chain link fence, piece of chain on the end of it to kind of keep some weight on it. And then I put some pallets over top of that. Loaded it down with some tires. And then I put a little yoke on the front with this piece of steel here. And I got some chain on there. I just hook it up to the truck and drive it around the yard. It's kind of fun. So, it's a little tour of the yard. Let's see what else we got. These other trees you see in the background, those are ironwood trees. They're a very hardy desert tree. And they grow seed pods, and you can eat them. They kind of taste a little bit like a cashew. And you can also dry them out and pound them into powder and use it to make like flour, like you would make tortillas or stuff like that. You can replace it for a flour. This tree here, we call it the tree of thorns or crown of thorns. It gets some pretty neat colors and get some reds and yellows in there. Right now it's pretty green, but you can see this one branch has got some color going to it. And that one's pretty young. We have another one over here. It's got some dead branches on it we need to trim up. But it's one of the plants and trees that we have here that I need to do some more learning on. Find out the benefits and if there's any medicinal use for that. But here's a little bigger one of that. You can see these things get pretty spiky and thorny. They dry out and they get pretty hard. But yeah, so there's a little tour of the yard. Here's our wash. We have a wash that when it rains hard, It runs like a river, flows right through our yard. You see it starts back here and winds its way all the way around and then out the yard and keeps on going. It runs maybe 2-3 times a year when we get really good heavy rains. And it fills up, I'd say, a good 2 foot of water. It flows like a river, so it's what they call a dry wash. And you can see another one of our ironwood trees. These things have so many thorns on them, they're like a rose bush. They're really hard to trim. You gotta have gloves and band-aids ready. See all these little holes we got in the ground? We've got a lot of ground squirrels and rabbits. And they make a mess out of everything. There's another one of those thorny trees. You can see all these little gopher holes. They're called ring-tailed, or I think they're ring-tailed ground squirrels. Some more ironwood trees. Ironwood's a real hardwood. It's very similar to a mesquite tree. These trees are pretty old. I don't know for sure, but I would have to guess 30 to 50 years to get to the size they are. And once a year they drop the seed pods, and there's probably a couple 100,000 off of each tree. And all the seeds try to sprout. You can see little babies down here. I don't know if they come through on the camera, but not too many of them survive because we get rain only a few times a year, being in the desert here, and a lot of things dry out and die. So the trees that you do see they're like a miracle type tree. 1 out of a million seeds turns into a tree. Makes it through the drought, and then once it's hardy, it can handle no water for a long time. So here's a little tour. Let's go over here and check out the pigs. They're running in my garden. I've been hoping they eat the grass and not the garden. I need to hurry up and get a gate on my fence and fence off the backside so they leave my garden alone. See the dog and the pigs. Oh yeah? Yeah, big boy. You're all wet. You must have got into the sprinkler. Gross. All right, so till next time, YouTube, take it easy.